of exactly what's going on now. Currently, there is 2 Reapers sitting outside the natural entrance to So's base up in the top right-hand corner of Neo Planet S, and there is a Queen parked between them and that hatchery that is sitting there being drawn out. There are Zerglings tearing around all over the place. There's about 10 of them that are going to try and engage. Now there is 3 Reapers, and they are cutting to the left towards the mid-map position, and there's a pile of Zerglings working away, trying to get a surround on them before they can cut around back. He's literally just trying to overrun them, but they are trying to get some damage done. Reapers are just continuing on, and in fact, he's actually splitting them up. So Axiom Heart keeping these Reapers alive. Looks like they're going for the high ground position in his base, and they have made it all the way back to the bottom left-hand corner to Axiom Heart's base. Now, sitting in front at the top of the ramp is a factory, and a orbital command is floating off the high ground and towards the low ground into the natural. However, that being said, there is about 8 Zerglings at the bottom of the ramp, just at the entrance. However, that being said, a couple of Hellions, 4 of them in total, are working away at trying to get a bit of an attack here and trying to push these Zerglings out, and a couple of them do get roasted unbelievably well, and they in hot pursuit is a couple of Reapers behind also as well. And it seems that Axiom Heart seems fairly good with that, and there is a scouting barracks in the center of the map for some strange oddball reasons, just floating there over top of the 4th gold position that is closest to Axiom Heart's base in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Now, that being said, Hellions and Reapers are working their way up. He's just starting to get onto the creep that is just outside of the natural base, and as we can tell, that there's well, I'm sure you can't tell, but I certainly can at the very least. But a couple of Zerglings do try to get their way up the ramp into Axiom Heart's base, but unfortunately are unable to do so as the gates were closed, as the supply depots are lifted now up in the top right-hand corner of things. We do take a look at his base. So has got himself a looks like a Roach Warren is up and running. Taking a look at the production tab, he's making 12 more Zerglings as well to continue on with this harass that he's been implementing with some success. A Reaper does ultimately die in the back of natural base, but doesn't really rack up any kind of kills as it sits right now. Looking at it, just 3 workers killed in the favor of looks like in the favor of Axiom Heart, but it's nothing really all too major as it sits right now. Worker counts 37 as it's matched, and also at the same token, supply though is where it is, where it's very different. So has 74 supply, over 57 for Axiom Heart. There's a pile of Hellions working their way across the top portion of the column, just below a third that has been dropped down in the high spot position, just outside of the natural, and a couple of Zerglings, as well as a Queen, as well as a pile of Creep Timbers that are expanding out to the left, are going to be able to hold and keep that in position. Now down in natural of Axiom Heart, he's throwing down literally a honeycomb pattern of looks like some bunkers as well, and he's able to hold that. But there is just more and more bunkers. There's a pile of Widow Mines as well going on, and just getting them burrowed as well. So as it sits, there's a bit of a lull, and everything seems to be calming down. Now there is some Roaches as well as some Lings transitioning up through the top overpass and into the 3rd base of So. And right now, as it looks like, Axiom Hearts is trying to kite with his Hellions, but they ultimately all do fall. Now I'm surprised So well he's able to defend this 3rd very well to this very small Hellion force of Axiom Heart, and it looks like he's actually going to salvage 3, but leaving only 1 of his bunkers in front of his natural. There's still 3 Widow Mines burrowed in front, and there's still an Overlord parked on top of the main command center, and it is going to get sniped by 2 Marines that are working away on that right now. Meanwhile, at the same token, we do see that he's going bio. Axiom Heart now has a total of 6 barracks in his base. He does have himself, of course, a starport, which is throwing down a reactor, and he has the factory for that siege tank that's parked up front, as well as the Widow Mines. But this is going to be a primary bio force. I think once he can get macroed up, he's going to be in good shape. An orbital command is floating on over and towards the 3rd base location. So it's basically a 3-basing Terran versus a 3-basing Zerg. And as you can see, a scan up in the natural, he sees that there is 2 evolution chambers, both researching right now, +1 melee attack, as well as +1 carapace. A glial reconstitution for the Roaches is also being researched. It is a good bit away, though. It is about 90 seconds away from completion. It doesn't look like it's going to be hitting any kind of particular timing. There's 8 Zerglings being produced. Baneling Nest is also on the way, and additional gas is being taken. So as it sits right now, all the gases have been occupied, save for 1 up in the 3rd base location for Sioux. That being said, taking a look down in the base of Axiom Heart, down in the bottom left-hand corner, the top is just a myriad of barracks, just producing, most with reactors, some with tech labs. And that 3rd is up and running, and he's also grabbing gases on that as well. However, there is a fairly decent small force of the Zerglings working their way across. I think they're going to go, no, they're just doing a quick poke to see what's going on. And they're just kind of transitioning back and forth. Nope, he's going to convert some into Banlings. There is a good amount of units literally everywhere. Taking a look at the units tab, there's 10 roaches in total, 5 banelings, and about 31 zerglings in total on the map as it sits right now. There's 12 marines, 8 marauders, 1 tank, and 2 medevacs to assist. And they are pushing out on the low ground up the right-hand side of the map, and they're actually going to back up on up towards the third. No, I stand corrected. They are kind of a little bit of a stagger. Looks like both players are aware of where the position of each other are. There's a Widow Mine is going to get sniped by some banelings. Unfortunately, a bit of a waste. A couple more do get burrowed here, and it's going to be Marines, Marauders, and Medevacs taking on a good batch of some banelings and zerglings. But it looks like Sue is going to continue to retreat. A scan going down, and a couple of creep tumors are also going to fall. And that's actually a fairly successful poke, and a quick pickup here into one of the medevacs, which is going to transition across the center of the map up and towards the top left-hand position here. And I think he's going to fly all the way around the creep and try and get a drop off on the third. We'll see where that goes in just a moment. The remainder of the forces, Marines, Marauders, as well as Widow Mines, are going to continue to progress slowly onto the creep. However, they are intercepted by a very large batch of roaches as well as some banelings. There is easily over 32 roaches in this group, as well as a pile of banelings rolling along behind them. Some zerglings were being attached along, but unfortunately they've been all morphed into banelings. This bioforce is not looking very well. They have stim twice, so they're a little low on health, and the roaches are transitioning very, very quickly into the natural. Meanwhile, the remainder of the units are going to progress up onto the third base location to take care of some of those Marines and Marauders. Unfortunately, not all of them do die. They do survive. More banelings are going to chase in, and the quick pickup is going to keep those guys alive as they're floating around, transitioning between the third. It looks like it's going to be a write-off. He's going to lift up the orbital command and is trying to salvage or survive or keep as enough of these SCVs alive. They do get killed off by one of the banelings as well, and we do see that those units that were picked up are going to be healed in the high ground inside of Axiom Hearts' base, and it looked like a fairly good contain. I think Sue could have continued on with that aggression, but he is retreating all the way back to his base. That drop, I think, that he threw down earlier on up in the third is going to continue. Well, it's unfortunately, it did get taken care of, and there's only one Marine left to tell a story about it. Zerglings are going to take a quick poke at the front of Axiom Hearts' base, but unfortunately, he's going to transition on out and across, and it looks like the forces are going to meet in the bottom center column as well, and it looks like roaches are going to engage along with Zerglings and a pile of rolling banelings behind, and a good split by Axiom Heart, and so is unable to connect with the banelings very well at all, and most of these forces still staying alive. He has his work cut out for him. 0-2 upgrades on the roaches, and again, another quick pickup by Hart. He's going to keep those units alive and move them on up and into his main. However, the SCVs that are down in the third base, in the bottom third base location, just outside of his blue base, is unfortunately not going to hold up. Looking at the income tab, he does have 74 to 42 workers as SCVs are getting it killed off unbelievably quickly. And at the same token, Army supplies 78 to 79. And it's a very, very close game. Army supplies are very close, but it's where the macro is, where the economy is, that's going to be of a concern. Sue has been able to apply so much pressure as it sits right now. He's now whittled his opponent down to 41 workers, and he's still only on 2 bases. And I'm not going to lie to you, there's only 4 mineral patches in the main that are still mining. They're horribly low on minerals, and the natural is being overmined as it sits right now. And again, the orbital command will float on over to that third base location. There is a pile of units just outside the third of So, but unfortunately, there is also a pile of Zerglings as well as Banelings. And the quick pickup here is going to save those units. Axiom Heart making excellent decisions here. He's also attacking on the right-hand side, but however, it's going to be intercepted by a pile of roaches who are going over that hump just outside of that fourth base location on the right-hand side of the map. Again, Zerglings are going to come down and try and assist, and Overlord does get killed off so as to limit the vision that So has of those of the military of Axiom's Heart. However, that being said, Axiom's Heart is going to continue to work its way up into the third of So, and Marauders are focus firing down. I stand corrected. They are going to start cutting the Zerglings that are trying to engage, as well as rolling Banelings in. And again, another pickup by him, and a brilliant strategy by him. He's going to continue to poke and prod and pull this military back and forth as much as he can. Quick stim forward in front of the fourth base. He does, and also a scan. He does see what's going on. There is the Queen, as well as a pile of rolling Banelings, and also a drop up and in the main. However, Mutalisks have come out, and there's a good number of them in total. There is 15 on the map, and they take care of the drop in the northern portion of So's main, and they are transitioning directly south towards the fourth base below the natural, and they're here to help augment, and there's just nothing but Marines as well as medevacs to try and help defend this. Now, Marine Widowmine has been pretty good lately in the TVZ metagame, and if he could drag these forces back across the Widowmines, that would be very beneficial. In fact, that's exactly what he's doing. Widowmines are going to get a lock on a couple of Banlings. Not enough, though, unfortunately, as Banlings do crash into this army here, and unfortunately are going to kill them off, and they are in hot pursuit as the Marines are stimming and trying to get away. More Widowmines getting burrowed as well, and another connection as well. Is he able to get another connection with the other Widowmine? No, unfortunately not. And again, continuing to kite backward is Axiom's Heart, along with these Medivacs, and so many Mutalisks as well, pecking away at these Medivacs. And again, Marines and Marines and Medivacs are continuing to try and hold it together. A quick pickup, and unfortunately, they do ultimately all die. SCVs have been pulled off the third, and they're a high ground of the third, and a big GG. And victorious is Sue in game number, I believe this is game number 1 of the series. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very decisive victory. Lots and lots of pressure here by Sue, and that will do it. I think, is that the... No, this is game number 1, so we will be progressing into game number 2 shortly.
I thought that was the second. I thought we had So win the last round, didn't we?
Oh, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. I apologize. I didn't make a note. So game number 2. So 2. That's a clean sweep, it looks like.
Exactly.